Welcome to UR 142 UR Release 790 Introduction. In this training video, we're going to cover these topics: Process Bus Module, B30 New Options, UR Platform Settings, Secure Firmware Upgrade, IEC 61850 Configurator, Test and Simulation, Modbus Memory Map, and finally, we're going to recap what we learned in this training video. So let's get started. UR 790 Process Bus Module has these new features. PTP of Process Bus Module, asynchronous resampler, point-to-point connection, global partial blocking, supporting IEC 61869, sample values diagnostics. Process Bus Module PTP supports master, slave, or slave-only mode in UR 790. When set to master-slave mode, when there is no grandmaster on the network, UR will synchronize the merging unit. When set to slave-only mode, Process Bus Module will be a PTP slave ordinary clock of the grandmaster clock, or waiting for the grandmaster clock when it's not available. Master mode only uses one-step synchronization. Slave mode accepts one or two steps synchronization. With the release of the 790, the synchronizing source can be set into the Process Bus Module's clock, and it works as a synchronous resampler, which means the external clock is not needed except for the 87R line differential function. Also, the point-to-point connection with the merging unit is also possible, just like the UR hot fiber break. The UR acts as a clock master, keeping all the merging units sampled values time aligned. UR can operate even without a PTP clock provided to the relay. All the merging unit can be time synchronized in the local mode. In UR 780 release, if any stream from any merging unit was lost, all protection elements in UR were blocked. With this release, UR 790, the behavior of the UR when a particular stream is lost can be controlled. When the sample value trouble protection block set to global, the UR behaves the same as UR 780. When this setting set into partial, the protection element using a troubled stream only are blocked, while protection elements using a healthy stream continue to be operational. There are also relevant flex operand for this function will be asserted. When sample stream is set IEC 61850-9-2LE, it uses a sample rate of 80 per cycle, which is 4000 Hz for 50 Hz and 4800 Hz for 60 Hz, with one ASDU, application layer service data units. In UR 790, it supports sample rate as per IEC 61869-2 edition 1. It supports the sample value stream with two user configurable ASDU with a fixed sample frequency of 4800 Hz. Sample value stream can be viewed under Actual Values, Process Bus Modules, and RX Sample Value Status. From here, we can see the status and the synchronous status to be global or local, or simulation flag to be on or off, and also the delay time. And this is the delay time for the received sample value in microseconds. A delay up to 1.5 milliseconds, which is 1500 microseconds, is normal. And also the missed frames and the quality of the channel 1 to 16. Additional Actual values can be also checked in a web browser. So under the process card menu, under the process card diagnostic, we can check the values like the sample stream, asynchronous mode, the stream status, latest acceptable quality, theme bit changes, etc. And last not least, the goose messages, we can check this sample values also from the Wireshark. So for example, here we can see the sample values 61850 SMV and the ESDU and the streams of the different channels, current and the voltages. There are 24 new order codes added for the URB30. IM to IX for the IEC 61850-9-2LE, 8 feeders, 3 zones, plus IEC 61850 and IEEE 1588 and PRP. For the order code of OF to OQ for IEC 61850 9-2LE, 16 feeders and 6 zones plus 61850 plus IEEE 1588 plus PRP. And the B30 can support totally 16 feeders and 6 zones with the maximized order code. With conventional B30 of maximized 3 DSPs, it can be configured for 6 feeders and 2 differential zones. With the process bus module B30, it can be configured to maximum 16 feeders and 6 zones. For the distributed topology with point-to-point connection was introduced before, one B30 process bus module can connect up to 8 merging units. With each merging unit has 2 instrument transformer inputs, so one B30 can be configured maximum for 16 feeders. The B30 order code starting with OF can have maximum 16 sampled value streams. The order code starting with IM can have maximum 8 sampled value streams. The AC back can be 14 or 22 depends on the order code, where each CT and VT have a redundant stream with a cross-check capability. There are 6 platform sources, and they are alternative switching between the CT and VT by using the flex operand. There are 16 base sources or 8 sources depends on the order code and starting with source 7. So totally make this source 22. Under breaker status, there are 20 or 14 breaker status can be configured, depends on the order code. For the bay configuration, the bay CTs can be configured here and once for all elements from source 7 to 22. And for the zone connection 1 to 3, the dynamic replica is configured here. And for the CT polarity can also be reversed under direction. The zone trip can be initiated from the bay element, like the breaker failures, low SF6 gas, etc. And the breaker can also be tripped by other protection element, for example, the DTT, direct transfer trip. Isolators are configured under the bus replica, and the 52A and B are configured under the isolator open and close. Up to 48 isolators are available to provide inputs to dynamic bus replica. Under bus differential configuration, the checked zone, when set to yes, the bus zone integration logic operation is modified to implement check zone functionality. Operation of the bus differential protection or controlled zone trip does not initiate the zone trip bus. The auxiliary zone trip setting specifies a flex logic operand that forces operation of the bus differential protection to isolate the entire zone of the bus bar. This can be a protection detection fault condition not detected by the bus differential or other provided function. And all the zone differential settings are set under differential settings. There's a new supervision setting with the voting of two inputs, supervision 1 and supervision 2, and the logic can be set to be AND or OR gate. The CT trouble setting detects an abnormal bus state when differential current is higher than a certain level. Under current elements, each bay has these following current elements: breaker failure, end fault, phase TOC, phase LC level 1 and 2, neutral TOC, neutral IOC, ground TOC, and ground IOC. Under phase directional, there are 6 directional elements. It requires separate source for current and voltage. Under voltage elements and VTFF, VT fuse fail, there is 1 element per VT. All voltage elements lined up under VTs. And we have 6 VTs here. For these elements, phase under voltage, phase over voltage, neutral over voltage, auxiliary over voltage. New UR790 increased flex logic capabilities like flex elements, virtual inputs, outputs, flex logic timers, and digital elements, etc. It also increased the number of the digital and analog channels captured in oscillography events. Here are some examples between the UR780 and UR790. So in the oscillography of the UR780, we can see the total digital channels is 63, actually plus the trigger will be 64, and analog channel will be 16. And for the UR790 digital channel, total number 127 plus trigger 128, and analog channel will be 32. For the UR780 virtual input, maximum 64, and the 790 maximum virtual input 128. UR780 maximum virtual output 96, 790, maximum virtual output 128. Secure firmware upgrade is a mean for the customer to verify the authenticity of the firmware binary. From UR790, all the firmware file extension name will be in SFD, Secure Firmware Distribution. NERC CIP 10 R1.6 requires that responsible entities must verify the identity of the software source and integrity of the software before the installation. Secure firmware file contains a digital signature that will be used to validate the publisher and the integrity of the firmware file. All future firmware release will be only in SFD format. During the creation of SFD file, data is hashed using SHA-256 secure hash algorithm. Then, hash is signed with private RSA key to get VRC file. And finally, hash is packed with the data to generate SFD file. Verification done by an Vista UR setup with public RSA key. If verification passes, UR setup software will do the firmware upgrade. If verification fails, it will block the firmware upgrade. Improved IEC 61850 configurator added these new features. In UR790, multiple dataset members can be selected by using the Shift key or by using the Control key to select the individual operands and then drag and drop into the dataset members. This works for both the publishing and reception. There is an extra option in the bottom of the RxGoose Boolean DSP analog input screen. Do not default remote ID on input configuration modification. This checkbox applies when configuring Goose subscription. It determines if the ID field is retained or defaulted. When enabled, the ID is retained. When disabled, the ID is defaulted. On the bottom of RxGoose Boolean DSP analog input screen, publishers Goose control have different colors when they are assigned to main Goose, RGoose, or PBM Goose. There are 3 different colors for the Goose assigned in the recepted Goose. So when the Goose is assigned at the main CPU Goose, it's a dark. Then if we change this to the routable Goose, then we can see this turned into a lighter color. And then we change this to the process bus module Goose, it's become even lighter. Change back into the CPU Goose again, it's become dark again. On server configuration screen, sub-network names are configurable. Other screens can be opened while IEC 61850 is opened in the offline window. Refresh IED file option is added. User can refresh updated CID or ICD file without deleting or re-importing the file, as long as the file is saved under the same directory. Three states of IED mode are supported: test blocked, test, and on. Simulation mode can be started by enabling multi-inputs. UR780 accept sim, goose, and sample value is removed and replaced with 2 new settings: simulation mode and sim mode input, which means that simulation can be artificially set on or can be dynamically triggered by one of the flex operand. And they're also supporting flex operand related to this simulation, i.e. the in-sim, behavior test blocked, and behavior on. In previous UR firmware, UR used a single Modbus memory map that included settings at actual values. The Modbus register can read with both function code 3 for reading holding register and 4 for reading input registers. In the new release 790, there are two Modbus memory map, meaning one for setting and one for actual values. Settings can be read only with function code 3, reading holding register. Actual values can be read only with function code 4, read input registers. As it is possible that an address is present in both memory maps, correct usage of the function code is required. Now let's recap what we learned in this training video. First, we introduced the new settings of the process bus modules like the master-slave clock and the point-to-point connection and partial blocking, etc. Then in the B30 new settings, we introduced different order code options which can be used for the 8 or 16 feeders, 3 or 6 zones, and also the new settings for the bay configuration, etc. Then in the UR platform settings, we introduced the newly added virtual inputs, outputs, flex logic elements, timers, and the oscillograph settings for the digital analog channels. In the secure firmware update, we introduced this new format of the firmware SFD. In the IEC 61850 configurator, we introduced lots of new features. For example, the multiple data set items, drag and drop, these different colors for the different GUIs, the refresh IED files, and other settings. And in the test and simulation mode, we compared what's the difference between the UR780 and the 790, how this simulation mode can receive the simulated GUIs and sample value settings, and how they are being changed into the UR790. And finally, in the Modbus memory map, we introduced this newly paged memory map, which separate the actual values and the settings. So the user need to use the correct command code 03 or 04 to do this read and write the setting files. So that concludes this UR790 introduction training videos. Thanks for watching.